and good morning. My name is Adami Rivera, and I am accompanied by Angela Torres and Esme Bryant. Together, we'll all be presenting to you our presentation about the emotional disturbances and the challenges that these students face in an academic environment. Now, please welcome my partner, Angela Torres.
In the early months of 2020, the world was rattled with a catastrophic pandemic. And whilst the higher-ups and government officials were trying to figure out how to handle it, our students, your children, were also trying to navigate academics whilst also dealing with their own mental and emotional health. Emotional disturbance is a reoccurring disability that affects many students, and it can take away greatly from their ability to learn. Some ways that we could help these students is by instilling support systems, and 3 examples of in-depth support systems include introducing intervention plans, establishing brain breaks, and amending the grading system for verified students. Now, with our first point, we have Esme Bryant.
Hi. So, our first major point is a behavioral intervention plan, or just an intervention in general. Now, what a behavioral intervention plan does is produce a plan that targets the behaviors after the identification of them. A few of these behaviors are categorized into 2 different groups. One of these groups are called externalizers, who deal with hyperactivity, aggression, outbursts, impulse, and that's it. And there's also more. There's also another group called internalizers, who have so much stress and anxiety from their disability that they kind of turn it into self-hatred. The reason that I bring this up is because what an intervention plan can do in these situations is really target these behaviors. Since emotional disturbance is such a unique thing and is different for each person struggling with it, it's going to create a plan that's most suitable for the specific person. And if it doesn't work, there can be adjustments made. We can't assume that one thing might work for one student if it might not. I also want to bring up that students who face emotional disturbance were never taught how to deal with their emotions that come from the behaviors that they face. And this turns out to be resulted in a lot of suspensions and expulsions. Students who have emotional disturbance are 4 times more likely to be suspended or expelled than the average non-disabled student. Now, what an intervention plan is going to do in this specific situation is teach students how to actually deal with their emotions instead of leaving them alone to deal with it. It's also going to have staff know, since they've been implementing it, that the student is actively working to get better instead of pushing them to the side, as they feel like suspensions or expulsions are the only way they can deal with these kids who are ultimately acting out in the classroom. Overall, this intervention plan is just going to really target their emotions so they can try and get better. So now on to Ellie with our second point.
Is an organization that educates young minds and leads them down a path.
For my second point, I wanted to make sure that we understood that students with these challenges were also facing it internally and externally.
Now, according to the Merrimack College survey, only 12% of
So I decided to have, or entitle, a brain break in classes. We already experience those here under Grand High, or we should be, but some teachers tend to not have time in the classes, which also affects these students internally.
young minds and give them the tools and the knowledge they need to know.
If you aren't aware of what a brain break is, it's a time throughout a class to relax or de-stimulate your students' minds, allowing them to unwind or relax, focus on the assignment that the teacher has given or the instructions that are going to help them with a project, with students, or with the group. Brain breaks also target preventing emotional distress, like from here with Esme, whether they're dealing with aggression, hyperactivity, along with withdrawal. We can stop that and see that when they're with their friends or doing the brain break. Not only are there many different types of brain breaks, but I honestly would only like to be focusing on 2 today: the energizing brain break and a mindfulness brain break. The energizing brain break focuses on students who struggle with hyperactivity, and like our director of if I'm not mistaken, the helpstudents.org, we see that students who struggle with focus, attention, and hyperactivity need energizing brain breaks. They need this to stimulate, to regulate themselves. A mindfulness spring break allows students to have a moment of quiet to relax their stimulated minds. They get to really focus on what the task is at hand and what the student is trying to teach. We also saw that by our friend Amanda Morton, a student who is provided a brain break meets their goals 20% faster than a student without a brain break. We can't lie with what the data tells us. If a student is working better with a brain break, why are we not providing them national? We should have at least a 10 to 15 minute of work time and then a 5 to 10 minute break in these classes. I would also like to point out that students need a safe place. A safe place that they might not be receiving at home. So the teachers in these classes should be at least trying to communicate or to connect with these students on an emotional level, a mental level, a spiritual level. I think honestly, brain breaks should honestly be inputted throughout the world. They help students. Why not have them? Students have the opportunity to exceed if we give it to them. And now, for our final point, I would like to present for the last time digital tourists.
Teachers need to remind themselves of why they came into this group.
The final support system that we could instill in order to assist students struggling with emotional disturbance is amending the grading system in a way that allows them to have academic assurance. What this means is there is no standard grading criteria like in place in America. However, the vast majority does use the criterion reference system, also known as the letter grade system. And this system often determines a child's self-worth as a student. Emotional disturbance has many symptoms or like tells, and as previously cited, the main ones are probably aggression, obsessive compulsive disorder, and okay. These things take away greatly from their ability to learn, which then gives them a disadvantage to their peers. Ideas, which is Individuals with Learning Disabilities Act has a system in place which does assist these students. However, only 5% of students in ideas are dealing with emotional disturbance. And according to the Education Board of America, there is 17.36% of students in some states that are dealing with emotional disturbance. That's only what's reported. So if there's only 5% in ideas, that's making it clear that there's not enough awareness of these resources available, and that clearly not enough is being done to help the students. What we could do to help the students that are not being currently helped is make a new way of grading in which students that have verification and qualify properly are able to choose a criteria and amplify it. Say tests or projects, quizzes, participation, whichever they believe they do best in, they should be able to amplify it, say 15-20%, in order to give them some academic reassurance and stability so that they have time and availability to work on their emotional health, which would in turn then also help their academic health or capabilities. Now we have Esme Bryant closing us off.
So, in conclusion, there are many ways to help, and it's important to help in any way possible. Our 3 ways were to begin an intervention plan early onset so disabilities don't become so prominent that they ruin education. We also have to schedule brain breaks in order to motivate these students to continue working and fight their disability. And we also want to weigh the grading system that would be most mentally stabilizing in their school. We think that you as audience members should retain this information and spread it to those who may suffer from emotional disturbance or who don't, especially you as who are teachers who are going to be teachers. We think our ideas can help, and a lot of people don't even know what emotional disturbance is. So I think it's important to help in any way possible. Thank you.
So at this time, you have 5 minutes to ask any questions.
We gotta ask questions. I think we gotta ask questions.
With the grading system, can you explain that a little more in depth, what you said, like a 15 to 20% what you said, like?
So you know how all like criteria in a grading system has these different like weights?
Yes.
Like say tests are 30%, or here 70%.
Yes.
And like participation's like 15-20%, your classwork. So for a student that's dealing with emotional disability or disturbance, they might like go to their doctor and get a recommendation to fill out a paper so that they can qualify, like verifying they have emotional disturbance. In which case they would like meet up with teachers to be able to amplify the criteria, like impact on one like segment. Say they know they do especially well in class, like classwork, they could amplify that and then just like change the setting in the grading systems.
Okay.
So they
So
would
it
have,
would
like,
find their strengths and weaknesses.
it would allow them to like make mistakes without like fumbling fully and having an opportunity to make it up.
Do you guys experience brain breaks in your classes right now?
Yeah, we actually, so we're in the education pathway. Just recently, actually, on Wednesday. Monday and Wednesday, sorry, we had a brain break. I would put it under the mindfulness brain break that I spoke about earlier. We got into a circle and we played a game that I want to buy this duck. And you would go around in the circle of your classmates and you would say, I want to buy this duck. You would answer, say yes or no, and then you would ask that person a question and they would bring it back to the person or the teacher who started the game. And you would go all the way around your classmates. And so in order to actually like fully, I say, understand this game, it would be really helpful if you had someone drawing the duck, because it's a way to get your creativity up and a way to like relax yourself.
So, I know, or you also, I know earlier you guys said like not all teachers implement brain breaks inside their classroom. Do you guys have any classes where there isn't brain breaks?
Definitely.
Okay.
I think I only have one class that does give them.
So do you feel a difference in your like engagement or activeness in the class?
Yeah, like I know that with Miss Miano in the child development class, I always feel like I'm paying attention and I'm like not bored or distracted. But with the other classes, sometimes I get focused in like short bursts and then I just I'm over it. I don't know.
I agree, because I only have 2 classes that I'm currently receiving brain breaks from, which is English and Miss Miano's class, Intro to
Child development?
Thank you, Child Development, thank you. And I'm finding myself to be way more interactive with my classmates and actually enjoying the class than I am with, let's say, geometry.
Almost 2-hour class blocks, and without a break in between that, we don't want to be here for 2 hours. Like, we really need a break in between, and we're not always getting that, and that's kind of disrupting us in itself.
So do you think brain breaks also help like social ability with students
Yeah,
too?
absolutely.
So it's also like a good skill for students like work on to talk to more students to get more open, because as you said, recently with COVID, a lot of students became more closed. People in general, they'd rather not.
How can we as staff best advocate for brain breaks, do you think?
As you guys are aware, or if I'm wrong, you guys do go to meetings regularly, whether that's with the board or your principal, etc. I'm saying that along with also you advocating for the student in the meeting, allowing a student who like specializes in brain breaks to allow them to come into the meeting to speak about the benefits, pros, even the cons really. But I didn't really find cons to having a brain break. But allowing the people in that environment to hear the student and how that's impacting them I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I agree, that's a great idea.
Anything else? Okay. Well, with that, I would like to thank you so much for your time. It has been a privilege to be up here with my teammates. We have spent a long while prepping this presentation, so thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Also, your paper is beautiful.
Thank
Beautifully
you.
written. Awesome job, guys.
Thank you.
Insiders.
Why is there a video?
It's research and learning challenges.
Oh. We're still looking at the first one, sorry. When you guys do it on a national level, you're presenting it in a video or are you presenting it in person?
In person.
Okay. Because it says video on this, but.
I think Google Books will switch. This is research and learning challenge. The next competition is insider space.
So this goes,
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
switch.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, paper was that one. That was crazy. Inside school, this one. It's just Angie. This is just, you're Angie, right?
Yeah.
Will that join around here?
Sorry?
Am I just critiquing the book or Angie? Mine just says Angie.
Oh, yeah, this is Angie. His name, Ellie.
Oh, I never heard that. I just saw Angie. That's not right. There we go. Paper is extreme.
So now we're going to hear our first installment, creative lecture. They will have 4 to 10 minutes. And then right here, we have our participants. The purpose of creative lecture is to use storytelling and effective communication. They are also trying to have this audience to sustain their attention, view their valuability, they're conveying their message
Good morning, everybody. My name is Aaron Lawson. I'm a senior at First High School. And it's going to be my first semester of student ministry application. So, my perspective is I was a freshman in high school when I went to over the loudspeaker and informed all of us that we would be gone for 2 weeks. I'm a senior in high school now, and I've spent about 3 years in high school, so clearly something didn't go right with that plan. So for the rest of high school, me and the rest of my students stayed on Zoom calls for 7 hours a day and called at school. During this time, I recall I felt very disconnected. Although I wasn't even in touch with my friends, I was FaceTiming them regularly. I still started feeling confused by apathy and feeling disconnected from people since there were no other people besides my family and my sister's friends. It's been told by studies conducted by the CDC that students with poor mental health during the pandemic made up about a third of the student population. And this shows that this disconnect during the pandemic is very prevalent. However, this has still continued and
Is this Education and Human Services? Is this the class you're in?
and disconnection is something that
Or is this the club?
Oh, the club is education.
Oh, okay. So you're doing this for the club?
Yeah.
So math, science, history, and English are all
So this isn't like a project you did for class. This is like something you did as extracurricular.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it was like the first time we've ever written an essay as a group.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's not easy to do. Talk about collaboration.
and it becomes reliant on intense people that our students get.
Move on to the next presentation they want
So
to
one way that students have been shown to be more connected to school are extracurricular activities. That's shown by studies.
Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Let me make sure we have everybody here that we need.
I tend to have less acute absences, skipped classes, had a higher GPA higher than 3.0, and were expected to get a bachelor's degree or higher in education. In comparison to those who do not participate, the percentages are like very different. And I know from my experience and research that has been shown, extracurriculars are available in many communities. They're available in rural communities, they're available in urban communities, they're available in affluent communities, low-income communities. And I think this is really important because when time is problem, you want to make
This is really good stuff. This is like what I was doing in like college. So you guys are.
And it's not fully edited either.
Oh,
because,
really?
Like we kind of ran out of time with the presentation and all that. Miss Marquez said it would be fine since this was like the building comp.
Yeah. So then you're gonna edit it even more and then submit it to the national.
Yeah, it's a bit wordy still.
When's nationals?
June.
Oh, well. It's working, but it's good. Good job, guys.
Oh, no, I thought we were waiting.
Yeah, we're ready. I didn't do
I didn't know I was freshman, right?
I'll wait. I guess. Which smart.
So this next competition is called Insider Stories. This competition is for students who find something unique and new to school, especially within the year. Then they create a 5-minute video of their findings. During this competition, students introduce their videos and then watch the video with the judges prepared.
Parents have different views on these topics because a lot of parents don't want their students to learn about this topic, and so there might be some pushback. However, it is
Hi, my name is Mimi Colon. I'm the 10th grade.
not
Hi, my name is Daniela Echevarria Figueroa, and I'm in the grade.
different from
My name is Deanna Sims, and I'm in the 11th grade.
My name is Madison Court and I'm in the
recognizing how
We're students from Rural High School, and we are in the Educators Rising Club, and we're going to be presenting inside our schools on the 90-minute vlogs and within the academics.
another thing that is easier to implement, however, would be immediate feedback from
So starting off with the Health and Science Academy, we just want to let you know there's the project is on the 90 minutes. We're just giving you some background information on the academies to prepare you guys for the video. So in the academy, there are classes to prepare you to become a CNA. And within the pathway, there are different classes that they can do different labs. One lab that we saw was they were practicing reflexes on the knees, which I thought was really cool. And work-based learning is basically when you go to learn something, but you're also getting experience by working and possibly getting paid. And there are 2 different certifications offered. You can be registered to become a CNA and then CPR registration.
Next up, we're going to be presenting Business and Finance Academy. So this academy is for students who are interested in the pathways of management, marketing, or finance. Something really cool that the academy offers is the school store. The school store is managed by students. The teacher is just there to observe and make sure that everything is right. So in the school store, students get to restock, sell clothing like you can see right here, and work with money and budget. There are also certifications offered where students can do taxes for people. They also do a lot of field trips, a lot of guest speakers come talk to them, and they do college visits.
The next academy offered is the Met Academy. It's offered for students who want to pursue a future in manufacturing, engineering, or technology. These students get to do projects working with the machines and tools that would be working in their future profession. And the certification offered by Met Academy is called the Juniper license, and they become licensed to operate on Juniper's products. So I saw that teachers who responded. Lastly, we have the Public Service Academy. Public Service Academy is for students who are interested in having a public service profession, especially in teaching, as our education pathway offers 8 different classes, as well as a preschool, which allows students to build connections with preschoolers, as well as get hands-on experiences. We also have a certification offered, which is the Para-Educator Certification, which not only allows students to get a certification, but a job straight out of high school. Last year we had 7 classes a day, each consisting of 45 minutes long, but now we've switched to block scheduling, which means we have 4 classes a day, each consisting of 90 minutes. And these 90 minutes allow for more project-based learning as well as hands-on experiences in our academies. Now we'll play our video.
Do a little bit of learning in the classroom, and then we then take what we've learned during our lecture.
I don't have to rush. I can explain, I can demonstrate, the students can do it within that whole 90-minute block. Whereas time before, it would take me 3-4 days to do that same thing. And then if the kid was absent, now they're behind.
I love 90-minute blocks because most of my, specifically my environmental science classes, most of the labs take longer than an hour to do. So when we did them last year, we'd have to do half of them and then clean up, and then the next day set up again and keep going. But with the 90-minute lab, we can get the whole entire lab done in a shorter amount.
I think that the experience is in 90-minute blocks create more time for me to be able to perform the labs correctly, and I do not feel
Enhances teaching is something by just giving students the opportunity to just ask more questions and really just a specific topic in depth rather than just looking over it as if it were only classes right now.
90-minute blocks allow us to really just let the kids, work with each other, run with each other, really dive deep into the content. It allows me as a teacher to spend, not just a couple of minutes with a student. It allow me 5, maybe 10 minutes with a student.
So for me specifically, since I teach construction, I think that having the amount of time like that, since we work with a lot of different materials, it does take us a little while to learn how to use machines and learn how to use tools. It really benefits because some days you have to have a machine and you get a chance to use it. Other days you might be able to use it right away. So if you have a shorter period, I had students last year, they had to wait a long time, and then the period ended and they never had a chance to do work on that particular part of their project because they needed to wait for one machine or the only machine.
Classes, a big part of time is spent setting up the lab and breaking it down. So the fact that we don't have to set up the labs and a lot of them work and break it down, we probably save 15 minutes every class period by not having to set up and break down, you know, into 45-minute periods. It's just get to get immersed in their projects now. So instead of being like, okay, we started, oh, it's almost time to go, it's much easier to get lost in what you're doing and you can go a lot farther in one shot.
90 minutes has helped with so much, especially because we're talking pedagogy, we're talking management, culturally responsive teaching, effective strategies, ineffective strategies, and so to have a bigger chunk of time just allows for us to not only engage in different teaching models, but to learn about them as well. So the 90 minutes is perfect time to do project-based things, and to check in with one another, do those things that help them.
90-minute blocks, I feel like it gives us a lot of connection with our students, having the opportunity to learn, watch them, see how different behaviors are within the preschool.
So, do you like being in preschool? Yeah. Like, do you have a lot of friends? Do you like the high school? What did you learn today? You learned about Christmas? Oh, that's great.
Thank you so much for your attention. This is our presentation, our video. So we will now take 5 minutes for questions and comments.
How has your experience been with, are you guys all in the health, what academies are you guys?
We're in the public service academy.
All public service?
Yes.
All public service,
We're
right?
in a teaching company.
Okay, so have you all not taking just public service?
Me personally, in my freshman year, I wanted my options open. So I took the biomedical sciences class.
Okay.
It was really a good experience. I loved it.
So you're in the 45-minute one, right? When it was 45 minutes?
When it was 45 minutes and COVID.
Okay.
So it was definitely a different experience. It was a little bit harder. Now my sister is taking the same class, and she's getting all of these experiences with different labs, and it's so good. We got to do it during COVID. It was not the same, but it was still really interesting.
So how has your experiences been with the 45 to the 90?
The 90 minutes gives us just so much time, especially in the preschool, because it was unfortunate that we have to leave so soon. But now we get to do multiple lessons a day, just really build connections with them that we feel like we never got to.
Even for the preschoolers, I feel like it's easier on them to have one group for half the day and then another group for half the day instead of rotating 4 times a day every day. Over like 20 to 30 kids switching out every time. And it could overwhelm them. So I think 90 minutes benefits both the high school and the preschool schools.
Good point.
And I'm not personally in the manufacturing academy, but I got to interview some of the students who are. And they say that it takes so much time to set up everything and then clean up that now with the 90 minutes they have so much time to learn and actually dip into the lesson.
If you had to pick another academy to be in, like if the public service academy did not exist, what would you choose?
After we went to all the academies and saw what they were doing, definitely the Met Academy. It's so interesting. I definitely loved it, the way they learn about construction, manufacturing, and other things. It's really interesting.
Yeah, we got to see the Met Academy do a lot of their work. We got to see them, they were making ornaments. I don't know what the machine is called, but it was like burning the ornaments. And Mr. Nelson actually gave us some to take home too. So it was very interesting the stuff they did.
That was a really good experience.
I loved watching the Academy videos. I interviewed all the teachers for the Health and Science Academy, and I was so intrigued. And that was with me just going to the CNA class and watching all the stuff they did, just working on the mannequin kids and then ended up working with each other to put like on the beds. They put a catheter on the bed, so it was really interesting to see. So I would, if public service was not available, I would be in the Health and Science Academy.
I would also be in the Health and Science Academy. I think their labs that we do are really interesting, like Lisa said, and the chance that they get to be a CNA, I think is really cool because that's just like a real job you can get straight out of high school.
Yeah.
Were there like any technical differences when it came to creating the video? And did you guys like work together to fix them?
It was a little bit hard because we had the Christmas break in between for planning, and then not every time teachers have like hands-on activities. So sometimes they're just talking about the class that they're going to do in some classes and then actually do them the next day. So it was a little bit hard to get the videos and for the interviews, but once we had them, we just looked through them and we made the videos together.
We were able to work with each other's schedules because if a teacher was like, hey, I'm doing this project period 2, you guys can come in and record. And if I had a class period 2, I would just ask them, hey, do you guys have a study or something? And there was always someone that could come and do the video for us.
There was, of course, difficulties with the Wi-Fi since we would meet here for educators regularly, and the meetings, but we ended up working through it, and I think we made a pretty good.
So you guys had a lot of information to go through. Was it hard to make your video 5 minutes?
There were some interviews, like single interviews that were 5 minutes alone.
Wow.
It was very difficult to decide, like, oh, what should make it in, what shouldn't. So we tried to keep it specific to the 90 minutes. So it was really nice having the additional information just for us to know, but we tried to put most of the 90-minute stuff in the video.
Exactly, and then the presentation is more about introducing the different academies so that you can see how the 90-minute actually enhances teaching and learning within the academy.
Without background information, we wouldn't be able to really know how those 45 minutes versus 90 minutes really affects any of the academies.
Any more questions?
Was there anyone that thought that 45 minutes was better than the 90 minutes, or did you get the opposite effect?
The majority of the teachers and students like the 90 minutes. I have one teacher particularly from the Business Academy that he says it's a little bit hard just to keep the students in class, but he did agree with the fact that they get a lot done. Great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it was awesome. It was awesome. It was so passionate.
Mimi, did you do this for a class or is this for the club? You're all doing it for the club.
We're all doing it. That's crazy.
Everything here today is just for the club. Wow. So cool.
What kind of feedback do you want?
Video games?
Do you want the video?
Because the other one missed up things, that's why I'm more helpful.
Mimi, can you play the video again?
The beginning, the title, I just want the beginning and the Oh, you got it on YouTube?
Yeah, make sure the volume.
Oh, just, you have your email right there? You send it to me. Then you don't have to listen to mine. You have your email right there or no?
Oh, that was, we had to upload the video to YouTube, so.
Yeah, I get YouTube.
Yeah, if you can send him the link.
Just send me the link.
Yeah, so he can watch it.
I don't want to play it for everybody.
Oh, you can play it again.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's fine.
I just want to make sure you have everything ready.
We were able to, do a little bit of learning in the classroom, and then we then take what we've learned
That's why I'm gonna fix that. They don't have the state. So that's just, you know what I mean? So they fix that. Because right there, it'll take off point. If you have some OCD like me. That's what I just want to help.
Every time somebody says,
Play that again. We talk about it.
I was talking about the presentation in the beginning.
Take it, fix it.
and then we learning in the classroom, and then we then take what we've learned during
In their like speaking point.
I don't have actually. There's nothing in there for them. This is what we do.
So what do you have to do? You have to submit the video?
It jumps into that. They had, I like that fancy. They had a big, they have one. They got the research. Looking at the impact of the new strategy, which is like the impact on 90 minutes or 45 minutes. I think if they had that in like Penny's.
Yeah.
That would be, it kind of jumps into the academy. Yeah. That would be
all in
perfect. They did that.
Yeah.
And because that's where I could see it. You're right. Other than that, but they wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little minor but it's good that you did this because they would have.
Right.
You lose points for stupid things like that. But I do like your, that's a good idea. If they had the four of them explaining your research, they make it 45 minutes. Then, 2021, previous year, now this is, using this language right here.
Yeah.
This was a new strategy implemented in 2022, the impact on student achievement.
Right.
And they could put the four of them doing that, you know what I mean, like,
Right, you would say it.
I think if they,
Oh,
yeah.
make a video, add it in the video, yeah?
Add it in the video, right before Jenny, they do the high school, they do that, and then they will look at this on the impact on the four
Yes.
academies. You know what I mean, like, there's not a beginning part to kind of guide you.
Yeah.
I agree with that if they had said at the beginning. We're going to look at the new strategy was in 2022, block scheduling previous to where it was non-block, and the impact on the academies at Newport High School.
Yes.
That would be a really good thing.
I feel like.
Do we have to like tell them, or it's just like the only group?
Yeah, might have Can we talk to them for 1 second?
We're gonna go. We really wanna know.
We have, want me to tell my idea, then you can go.
Yeah.
So the first thing, just looking at the rubric, that we want you guys to fix, because you'll lose points on this. It needs to include the name of the school which you had, but you don't have the city and the state. So in your opening credits, right, you guys have this rubric?
Oh, not online.
So look right here where it says video includes the competition name, title of project. If you lose one of the following, then all of a sudden you lose points for that, which is a minor thing. So like make sure you fix that in the opening scene, right on the school bus. Because it doesn't have anything about the state in Newport High School in Newport, Connecticut.
And we were thinking, because you guys did a really good job explaining the academies and everything, but maybe adding like 10 seconds where right before it jumps into Cesar's talking, you guys say like, this is talking about how this is the new guidelines for 2022 the block scheduling and how it's impacting the academies, like specifically say that. Because I feel like it was clear, like watching the video, that that's what it was about, but maybe like just letting your audience know before you jump in.
Because some people might make it confused, is the academies the new thing?
Yes, yes, yes.
Some people might think the implementation of the academies. Your focus is on the block schedule. So the new strategy for 2022 that was implemented was block scheduling. And we're going to focus on the impact on the academies. And if you have the four of you, let's record that, it'd be cool. I do like that.
It would be really cool, yeah. And then, yeah, the match is awesome.
So if you did something like that, that would be really cool to do. So you gotta explain. Some people might get confused, they don't understand that your academies, they may think the academy is this new strategy. But you could get it, like eventually watching it, but you want your audience to understand right off the bat.
So that's what they focus on. Yeah.
The English feeling we had is that we have 5 minutes in the video, and it's like not a lot of time.
So you got 30 seconds.
Yeah, we have to quickly express.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be long, that's like
10 seconds.
Yeah. That would add that right between you, before you get to after the school bus, before Ms. Nazario. And that would explain, we'll look at the impact of how many academies?
Yeah.
Four, right? I would say that, look at the impact of the 4 academies.
And then even in that, you could say,
yes. Yeah, just so
add
that
that
you
in.
can emphasize that. But as long as you're under the 5 minutes, you have plenty of time to play.
Yeah, and the video's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But just minor things like that you'll fix, then you won't lose points.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Congratulations, guys. This is
It was good.
amazing.
It was good. That's the same. They didn't do that.
Yeah.
See Angie's group?
Yeah, Ellie. Angie and Ellie's group. Can you guys come back?
Just to give you a little feedback based on the rubric. With, if you want to come over here, I'll explain it. I'm a pain in the butt about this. These need to be indented. Your second line has to get indented. And also break
And
this
everything
up.
following. So like this would have, all these lines have to be indented, one tab, all of them, 1, 2, 3.
If you ever support all the time, they could, I drive them nuts about this.
Yeah, I had
These-
no clue.
So this has to be
This is
indented.
our first time doing
It's good. So this has to be all indented, all that. And also I bring this up.
Yeah, that was an accident.
That's okay.
That's okay. That's why
But
you're
that's
here.
fine, but that's why you would look at that, fix, pull that up.
And then I have another question, because this is MLS format. MLA. Are they supposed to have parentheses behind sentences that they're quoting?
That's your no,
What'd you say?
that's your no, that one.
Yeah.
But my other one, fine.
So that's my other thing, because then you don't want to get in trouble for, thank you so much. For plagiarizing because you don't have the
Yes.
parentheses after. So I don't remember if it's MLA, I haven't used MLA in a long time, but.
Wasn't that only for direct quotes though?
We'll ask the English teacher, we'll ask the English teacher.
Because I think, yeah, it might
She'll
be
know.
for MLA.
Because I know
You would know.
I think there was only like 1 or 2 direct quotes.
Yeah.
I know I didn't use a direct, I paraphrased.
And then the other part is contestants' names, school, there's no contact information. That's what it says, it says title page, it says school. So you have the school, you got the contestants' names, you don't have contact information.
We could just grow our email. We could just put like right now.
Yeah,
That's
email.
what,
Yep.
I'm just reading, as long as, that's like one thing that they could, because right here, that would take you down. That was one thing. So it's more like this area.
You just don't want to lose little points on silly stuff. You know?
So that's a big thing that, yeah, contact, I think you have everything else, dates, yeah.
I have my journal, just can't look at it. It's just, I'm
Yeah,
I can write it down.
Here, you guys want to write it down there?
You can come see me.
And then I'll, you can
Yeah.
keep that.
So yeah, put down contact information. I don't think it has to be all of you, just as contact information.
Yeah, so you can even put like the school's number and Miss Marquez's
Email,
extension.
or your email,
Yeah.
one of your emails. I don't think you have to put all the emails, just as contact information. So we're excited, pull that up to the top. Make sure you bring that all the way up to the top.
So any line underneath the first line when you're citing has to be indented.
We're gonna go ask Miss Jonah, what was your question? You would know better the way you're saying
Oh,
it.
sure.
I know how to make
MLA
the thing,
format.
I know how to make them perfectly. The indenting, all that kind of. The detail oriented stuff. I'm good.
Parentheses citing. You can't read my handwriting? Well, that's not my fault. Parentheses. PARAENTHESIS. Spell it out. Sound it out. That's the one.
I spelled it wrong.
Halfway. You know what it's supposed to say.
And then I started this, right? I even there from down. Right, that's
Was there something else? Yeah. You don't see schools number. What else?
We'll decide when the time comes. Just put whatever. Okay, so contact info, school number, but the judges might be. And then. You got it. Elliot? Yes.
Well, all of you.
Oh, yeah, okay, so good.
And then they had some full parentheses, I think, but they're, yeah, but there are some things that they, paraphrase, but are not cited. Like there's no.
That's what I'm saying, so like, I know the work site is very, very, do this, do this, do this.
Okay, so,
This one.
okay, and the only other thing I would do is there's a Wikipedia extension where it literally creates the website.
And then just hear the siren. Just to get just killed first. I would have like kind of 2%. Now listen, if you're saying that would take years. Right? It's still good. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So you may want to just like think about that. For real, go grab a section. Short boys. You're crazy. Short boys, they be running around that fast.
Short.
She saw it.
I'm not talking to you. I'm really like walking everywhere. She goes, my mom's having a bottle. So I'm like, that feels like and then when I brought up, when it comes to these new breaks on I get on that on really tall too. And I was like, I'm actually tall.
But I didn't find those slides. They're all like red. My mom was funny. She was like, you want to wear those shoes at Pop Shop? She brought it that way. Here's the list of things I have to do. I don't want to think about it as
What's your dress for? Too big of a You wore a dress.
My sister's gonna high school. Like, let's say the whole week, like, she's talking about how top like Beyonce, that's why she's doing top and stuff. We do have my sister. I was literally gonna come in the car while she's in the hospital, and she was like, I don't say anything. Right, you see when I hesitate to get out that car.
Not that I'm scared, it's just
Oh no, you should.
Oh my God.
they have one. There's something.
She'll literally be in and at home. She'll be giving at 66, but she'll be like that. I gotta say,
If Liz sister right on your butt, I'm gonna tell Jackson to start laughing, but like in his laugh.
my sister literally said that she'll
Right, that's why I went to the nail salon to get nail done, right? The lady, after she was done, she put so much oil on my finger. I'm like, what?
You do have to wear like the Chinese lady at Walmart.
Oh, no. Like, you have some. Yeah, like, you saw so weird. My mom Yo,
No, don't say. You got it. I know I had it. Just put a pen here.
and my mom was like, is he black? I'm like,
Yes, we did good.
and I'm like, yeah. And then,
Out of 10, out of 10, out of 10.
I don't know. And then she'll be like, then she'll stop. She'll be remembering people by her name.
I was gonna say, alright.
It was before.
It's like, it's, you guys go to free, it's the first time you got it's not random people looking at you right presenting. So if you see my stuff, I'm not gonna be on you like, oh my God, she messed up. There was one mistake, I don't know who it was. I thought it was really good. I thought the SEO was good. I don't know, it's when I hear like, me personally, I thought it was really good. They weren't saying it bad, but it was like, and you're older than me, so I gotta take what they say too. So that's kind of, I was like, no, all I felt like, you know, I think it's a little too good. I was just giving out perfect scores for everything. I was like, what's going on?
Exactly.
I thought it was good. I thought you guys did really good.
When I went to
Obviously, you give it here, but like, one suggestion, and speak louder, but like, you can't really do that. You're trying to look out for other people in the competition. So I took that into consideration. I think you guys did really good.
Gotta catch me. I still have my hometown bank from when I worked at the pharmacy and it was across the street.
I'm not gonna say bus.
Cindy.
Bro, I'm about to get this one. When I seen the flag on Destiny is I think everyone's mindset is that's all the people mindset.
What time was the next one?
4 minutes.
4 minutes? Whoa.
I like your Alaska sweatshirt. Thank you. Are you guys from Hilo? No. Here? Yeah. Oh. Well, you know everything I need to know. Are you guys from Hilo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know you are. Where are you guys going next year?
Either ECF or
Nice. What about you?
Either CCRA or EC.
What's CCRA?
CCRA is Connecticut River.
Yeah, that's Goodwin, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I did it. I forgot the other question. What is a juniper project?
Oh.
I never heard that. Do you know what?
You thought I said C. I thought it was I said C.
I like the match. I know it's like that.
I mean, if I had to go to music program, then I probably would.
My mom didn't want me to tell you.
I got it.
Bye, Sherrod. Good to see you.
We'll see you. Nice to meet
You
you.
have 2 kids, your brother's like one of the best people in the whole school.
You know what? I honestly feel like
Why would I get it over you?
thanks like grammatical stuff and it's college
Yeah, they need to get to an English teacher.
Yeah.
That's my recommendation.
You get to see and you get to
Speaking of a student person. Oh, now we got a heart. Now we got.
I don't mind going to C by
No, we don't have to pick one. They're good.
That's my problem with teaching. I get 2 years of teaching.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because it's a 2.
Ethical
You get 2 years
dilemma.
of teaching
Maybe I
and 2
should-
years of respect.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
You switch in between
you
your
switch and
So.
I could see.
So follow me. Devin was my favorite.
Nice to meet you.
You did a very, very nice job.
These are like $30, literally.
I'm just gonna wait a second.
Rainbow
I'm
here.
waiting for another.
And one of our judges went to that.
Oh, okay, so, yeah.
That's a good job with Q&A. Yes.
You do.
I didn't feel as prepared.
Do you have any time?
Did you have to ask an answer question?
What's your timing?
I don't know. Ours had a time.
Ours did too.
Like it had a
10 minutes.
Did they take
No, they were good.
Good morning and welcome to Educate. My name is Devin. I'm a senior and I'm going to be your facilitator for today. In this section, we'll be covering an ethical dilemma in which students have researched a solution to an in-school problem, creating a debate, and further explaining their reasoning in a slideshow presentation. The purpose of this was to show how students would maturely handle situations pertaining to the career they are interested in. First up, we have Team 1, including Pierre Martinez, Abel Velasquez, Malachi Edwards, and Isaiah Rodriguez.
I started writing on these because I realized I didn't know what was going on at the end of the and
All right.
I consider helping other people.
My bad.
And I was crying because I didn't know how to cope with the situation. I didn't want to worry my parents because they were like so much.
All right. Hello, my name is Pierre Martinez Ortiz. I am a junior at Newburgh High School.
Hello, my name is Abel Velasquez, and I am a senior at Newburgh High School.
Hello, I'm Malachi Edwards, and I'm a junior at Newburgh High School. Isaiah Rodriguez, sophomore at Newburgh High School.
And today, together, we will be presenting Ethical Dilemma 2023. So we appreciate your time and thank you. So now, for the prompt. Ms. Ramirez is a yearbook advisor and teacher, first-year teacher, at a new school. She built a dynamic with two students, Mandy and Richard. They're both part of this said yearbook club. Mandy is the yearbook's editor, while Richard is the yearbook's photographer. Sole photographer, meaning that he is the only photographer on the club. Now, she's also a teacher, which means that she has students, and Richard's one of them. Richard is a lively student. He likes to write notes in class. He's quite the scholar. But one day, Ramirez notices that Richard isn't quite as lively as he usually is. He isn't writing notes, he's sleeping in class, etc. She doesn't think much of this, and so Ms. Ramirez goes home and goes about her day. But then Richard DMs Ms. Ramirez on Instagram, which alone, in and of itself, is unethical. Ms. Ramirez, as a teacher, as an educator, isn't allowed to have her pupils and students as friends on Instagram, Twitter, etc. These social media platforms. Even the what the DM entails is that Richard is being bullied by Mandy. Mandy is singling him out, and because it's online, it's cyberbullying. And so Ms. Ramirez has a choice here. She can, one, do nothing about it, which would obviously be the wrong choice, or she can go about this but in a subtle manner. Mandy has a mother who will always be on her side no matter what, which means that you can't, as Ms. Ramirez can't antagonize Mandy because Mandy has the support of her mother no matter what, which what a mother should do. And so Ms. Ramirez, like I said, she has a choice, which means that she can't antagonize Mandy, and she has to go about this in a way that teaches both of them a lesson, like I said, without antagonizing either one. And so she needs to do this to become a proper role model to these students.
Okay, so by a show of hand, who here knows the definition of bullying? For those who don't know, bullying is targeting the seemingly vulnerable, and in this situation, Richard and Mandy both play those parts as Richard is the one being bullied and Mandy is the one doing the bullying. Okay, and we talk about how Ms. Ramirez is a first-year teacher and she faces her questioning competency between her other peers because she's new, and this is a lot of pressure on her for being a first-year teacher and being a first year for the yearbook club as that is. So the best thing that we should do is definitely bring this up to the higher ups to get this situation resolved. You know, she's a new teacher and she may not have the respect as veterans in the school. So we should definitely bring this up as a topic so they can handle it, they can get it secured, and it can be a learning experience for Ms. Ramirez.
So we also have to understand the situation in the teacher's shoes is really, really tricky because as the yearbook club head, you have to be able to have a club that actually functions and works together properly. So means you have to solve the situation without making it seem like you're on either student's side. You know, you're not picking sides, you're not picking favorites, and make sure that there's no conflict, keep everything down to a minimum and peaceful. So a peaceful solution to this problem is simply to have a private conference meeting with the students. No parents and no third parties. And the reason I say this is because students are young. We're all young. We're developing, we're learning, we're growing. So we have to understand these kids, they have really easily influenced minds. They can be influenced by anything, and especially parents. Parents can influence all their kids just by being there, what they say, how they act, what they do. So having a third party can make them not be themselves, not think the way they would if they were alone on their own. So have a private, civil little meeting, and the goal of the meeting isn't to make them like each other. They don't have to be friends. They just have to be, in a way, co-workers or just peers, because they're part of the same club. So you gotta make sure this club is working with no one being disrespectful, no one being rude, toxic, no animosity. We have to make sure this club runs functionally. They don't have to like each other, So the goal is to simply make sure they can get the problem settled, make sure everything's fine, and they can work in the same room. We also have to emphasize the fact that we're teaching them a lesson about not only harassment, being mean to other people, hatred, and of course, bullying.
So, in order to properly assess the situation, we have to look at it from different perspectives, right? First, there's a perspective of the principal. Now, when you receive news that there is bullying going on, the Model Code of Ethics for Educators states that you should report it to the administration, right? But however, that means that the school would have to punish Mandy, and that would bring problems for Ms. Ramirez because Mandy's mother is very old. Now, looking at it from Richard's parents' perspectives, once they find out of the situation, they might want to remove Richard from the club to ensure his safety and to not affect his mental health negatively any longer, right? And in that case, Mr. Ramirez would have to advise the parents to let him stay because he loves photography, and ensure the parents that his safety will be ensured after the situation is dealt with. However, if they choose to remove him from the club, then that's their decision. It is what it is. However, looking at it from the students' perspectives, Richard does not want any trouble with Mandy, right? Richard clearly states in the message that he doesn't want Mandy to find out about it or anybody else, right? However, her actions cannot go without any sort of talk or punishment. So it is necessary to let Mandy know and have them, as my teammate said, have a conference. So in the end, Ms. Ramirez should have listened to the Model Code of Ethics for Educators and made the rules clear that bullying is not acceptable in the club, and to have these talk with every member of the club to state it from the beginning, so this would have been prevented.
Continuing from our friend here, we have to really put into view people's perspective when you're an educator. Remember, these kids are still human. They're people, they have their own emotions, they have their own families. So when you're an educator, you have to really value perspective. What is this kid experiencing? What is this kid experiencing? So on. Because from the perspective of Richard, it's a kid, he's simply the victim. And Mandy, the so-called aggressor, but maybe it's not seen that way in Mandy's eyes. You have to really try to, put into account how they feel, what they do. So as an educator, you have to always really keep in mind their own thoughts and perspective in situations like this.
And when we're talking about being an educator, some of you guys here, you have the job of giving prior knowledge to what you learned in college to students younger than you, so you can educate them and they can go into their careers correctly. But that's not the only job. Your other job is to keeping these kids safe, giving them the best position to be in. And with Richard being in this position where he acts as, and I forgot to bring up that in the message he specifically said not to tell anybody. So this could be a lack of a fear of what Mandy could do later on, or it could lead to dire situations. But keeping Ms. Ramirez to keep him in the best positions by not making him the only photographer there, you know, giving everybody else jobs, letting everybody else be a photographer so they can understand the pressure on Richard, not just only photographing. So they can be like, oh, okay, it was difficult when I did it too. I know where he's coming from. And Mandy could learn from it. Like, oh, okay, I know that it's not directly him because when I did it, I didn't take good pictures either.
It needs to be made clear that Mandy's actions can come from problems in the household, and so it would be smart to offer Mandy counseling, speak with the parents, see where where her actions came from, because this doesn't just come from a random outburst, but rather problems within. So we need to make sure that Mandy's mental health is also at
We have discussed many reasons why this situation could be dire and could lead to dire consequences. And the best way to go about the situation is to also let Richard's mother know, or father, Richard's parental figure. And so by doing this, all factors in this problem know the situation and know the problem so that nobody's left out of the question. And so in the end, we must unfortunately punish Mandy because Mandy is performing acts of cyberbullying, and that obviously isn't right in the school or in the club. We have decided to suspend Mandy for a week or more, depending on after the conferences conclude. Or a second option would to write an apology letter to multiple people, so that to multiple the parents, Mandy's mom, Richard, and Ms. Ramirez, and perform a public apology towards the club to show that there is no more animosity and there is no more tension between the group. The yearbook club is the yearbook, which means that the entire school is relying on this club to make sure that the yearbook is performed correctly and created correctly. But that is about it. My name is Pierre Martinez Ortiz. I'm a junior.
My name is Abel Velasquez. I'm a senior.
Okay,
Macias Rodriguez, sophomore.
And we appreciate your time. Thank you.
So I'm going to give you some time to evaluate the team one, but I do apologize. I was supposed to be doing that, but I didn't get the.
Can you go back to the other side? I just want to read what they wrote on it. And one more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I think there could have been. It says.
Right.
It says.
They ran away.
Would you like me to read that?
Yeah, because then if not, we'll lose one. Devin.
I agree with that question.
can think of two.
What do you got?
That's all right, we just have a couple of quick questions, because there's one of them we have to spoil you guys.
Is that why you guys left, so you didn't make it to the other competition?
Oh, no.
No, you just assumed that it was over.
Oh, okay.
So now you know that next time.
Yeah, don't run away. So my question is, what do you do if the meetings don't go as planned? Like, what if a situation occurs in the meeting where somebody's getting really upset or out of line, or what if Mandy's mom is not willing to either comply with the meeting or not willing to hear the other perspective at all? You can answer either one of those questions.
Okay, we talked about how we should bring it up to the school counselors. Now, if it can't be resolved between that level, bring it up higher to the principals and have a meeting with them. And if they can't correlate, they would just have to be separated. One of them can't be in the group, and then whoever can, get over, not get over it, but make peace with it, then they can stay in the group. But that can't be tolerated at all in the group. You have to set expectations.
Okay.
I would like to add on to that. I feel like it's also a dilemma of maturity, and so these students aren't fully matured, as we said before, and so I just feel like if these students cannot engage properly, or refuse to, then we will also bring it higher and higher and higher. And if that doesn't work, punishments have to be let out. Punishments have to be dished out, because that's the only way that these students and the teachers are gonna, or these students and the parents are gonna learn that this is inherently correct. It's inherently unethical.
The question I have is, imagine you were Miss Ramirez, and after the suspension occurred, Mandy comes back, but the behavior continues. You know what I mean? You see it. How would you handle that situation in the yearbook? If you saw something, where sometimes people say something and just, did the teacher hear that? You know what I mean? How would you handle that situation?
Okay, so if I were Ms. Ramirez,
Yes.
So after they're suspended, right, the punishment was supposed to be able to teach Mandy a lesson, and for her to have reflection time about that she shouldn't have done that. But if that lesson isn't learned, then we're going to have to. Honestly, I feel like counseling is the best option here, because these, as I mentioned before, these problems come from within. And instead of, I don't know exactly how counseling works, how assigning it works, but if it can be definitely strongly recommended, like she can spend one session in there, see how it goes, that would definitely be best.
I definitely believe that is the case. But obviously, the follow-up is that what if that doesn't work? And so if that doesn't work, then honestly, kicking her out the club is, or taking her out of the club, kicking is a bad connotation. Taking her out of the club is probably the best option. You get one chance to learn her lesson, and that in it itself is a second chance. And if there's no third chance, fourth chance, giving it too many chances is going to show that we're too lenient. Ms. Ramirez is too lenient. And for the yearbook club to operate properly, Ms. Mandy would have to be.
And if they can't coincide in class, I think one of them should definitely be removed. Specifically Mandy, if she's still repeating the same behavior, this not may be only happening to Richard, it could be happening to other students in the class. And that can create a habit, and a bunch of kids could be, some kids may not have the courage to go reach out to Ms. Ramirez, and those could lead to dire situations like, self-harm or harm in the school, and that we don't want that. So I definitely think removing Mandy out of the classroom, just putting her in a different, so she doesn't mix with any of the other kids, would be a better solution.
Thanks for coming back, guys.
Thank you.
Yep,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. So in terms of
Yes. We apologize.
She's always like, I don't need to be this.
Apologize.
I'm getting
I'm ready.
That's all right, Cody. At the beat, keep both sides of my hair.
So next up is team 2. And
That's such a good thing.
Yosemite Mitchell, Emily Perez, and
Oh, yeah.
then he was recording. I was just like,
I like this stuff.
I love that for you.
Sounds great.
You want to finish potentially like
I don't watch
pretty
it
trips.
anymore.
That should run into this in multiple situations. Interesting that it's extracurricular,
None of us are kidding.
which does make it harder to deal with in the classroom situation.
And the Instagram thing. Great.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Melanie Sanchez, and I'm a junior. And today I am joined with Naija Edwards, and I'm a senior. Giselle Mitchell, and I'm a junior.
Emily Perez, and I'm a senior.
And this is our solution to our ethical dilemma scenario.
The scenario begins with a first-year teacher named Miss Richard. She teaches language arts at a school in a neighborhood that she lives in. She also advises the yearbook club. Mandy and Richard are both students of hers, and they're both in the yearbook club. Mandy is the yearbook club editor, and she lives near Miss Richard, or Miss Rocco. Mandy's mother works in the office in the school building. Richard is new to the school, so he's shy and timid. So Miss Ramirez suggested for him to join the yearbook club as a photographer. Over time, Miss Ramirez noticed that Richard became more withdrawn and more reserved. This caused Miss Ramirez to ask Richard if anything was up, and Richard denied any issue. However, later on that evening, Richard texted Miss Ramirez on Instagram regarding a cyberbullying situation with Mandy. He sent multiple pictures of Mandy, of her posts on Instagram regarding how he has sloppy photography, how nobody likes him, and she even criticized where he used to live. Richard begged Miss Ramirez to not say anything to Mandy, as he thinks that it would further escalate the situation. This left Miss Ramirez unsure on what to do. Miss Ramirez contacted her mentor about this, and her mentor advised her to stay careful from Mandy's mother, as Mandy's mother was very vocal in both the neighborhood and in the school. Miss Ramirez was unsure on how to progress with the situation.
Raise your hand if you've ever heard of cyberbullying.
Oh.
As we all know, right? So cyberbullying is when somebody utilizes any online platforms or any social media to talk negatively about somebody or to disrespect somebody. As we know, just occurred within this scenario.
Bullying can have many different effects on everybody. Some of the effects are isolation, increased in stress and anxiety, low self-esteem, and this could even go on to affect them in their future with communicating for a job or even in college.
According to the 2019 National Crime Victimization Survey, 16% of the students between the grades of 9 to 12 have been cyberbullied. And according to the 2019 Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance System, 15.7% of the students in high school have been cyberbullied 12 months prior to the survey. As a method of prevention, we are going to go over some things that Ms. Ramirez could have done prior to the scenario.
In order to avoid tension between Ms. Ramirez and the students, she could have mentioned to the yearbook committee that no form of bullying will be tolerated, as it will result in you being removed or kicked off of the yearbook committee. And this is just to prevent any students that are on the team from feeling unwanted or unwelcome in the group.
We also think that Ms. Ramirez should have had a meeting to
introduce Richard to the club, to make sure everybody feels comfortable with him being in it, and to not make the kids feel like he just came in and took their spot in the club.
We also said it'd be a good idea that Ms. Ramirez lets her kids know that her door is always open, that she's always there for them to talk to. Also to know there is other resources like social workers, websites, even phone numbers, that they don't feel comfortable exactly with her or teachers. There's always someone else to go to if they're ever feeling like they need someone to talk to.
What should Ms. Ramirez do? Although responding to a student or interacting with a student in any way on social media is not tolerated, nor is it professional, me and Melanie thought that the best idea for this scenario would be to quickly message him back saying to check his email. We want to do this because we want him to know that we're there for him without sending a complete message on the Instagram. In this email, we will be regarding meeting after school to talk about the situation. I also feel like it's best to contact his parents so that his parents are aware of what's going on in the school regarding the whole cyberbullying situation.
I do agree with Emily about answering the DM, but I don't agree about contacting the parents, just because you never know what kind of living situation they're in and what kind of parents they have at home. You never know if they have abusive parents, or even if the parents will show up the next day at school, which can make the situation a lot worse. And since Mandy's mom is in the front office too.
Giuseppe and I have a bit of a different perspective, simply because we know that it's unprohibited for any teachers to privately message any students, whether that's outside of school, DMing, Instagram, whatever. Like any kind of social media platform should not be shared between teachers and students, as it could cause issues to escalate, and any teachers may be criticized as a sex offender. So we just wanted to make sure that Ms. Ramirez could fact find first without anybody else involved, because we do have proof of Mandy sending these, disrespectful messages to Richard, but we don't really know if Richard could have initiated the disrespect first, which could have caused Mandy to retaliate inappropriately.
After coming together as a group, our final group decision was this. We decided it'd be best that Ms. Ramirez contacts Richard's parents the day that she does get the message. Therefore, she could get across to Richard, let him know that I did see your message. I can't reply because of my job, but I did see it, and we could talk about this tomorrow. Also, it's a good way for her to contact Richard's parents, since she is a mandated reporter, and it is something that she has to do. We also said that it would be best that she talks to Richard and Mandy separately, and then together with the social worker of the school. We said the social worker of the school because their job is to talk to students about situations like this, whether it is abuse at home, bullying in school, or even just problems with friends at school. So as a first-time teacher, it is hard to come up with that decision. So talking to a social worker and getting their opinion will be best for her.
I also feel like it's a good idea to involve the parents with the social worker situation, so that they're aware of the situation and they're aware of what's going on with their children.
So as we know, there can be a lot of different events that can occur when you're working in a school setting or just a learning environment, especially because you're working and you're surrounded by multiple different personalities. You just never know what might happen. But you always want to make sure that you're prepared for any unexpected events.
And as a first-time teacher, this will not be the first or last time she will go through a situation like this. So we came up with a few solutions that can help in the future. The first one will be a club council, like we have in our Ed Rising program. It can help with organization and responsibility for the students. Also, teamwork skills and communication skills, which will also help them in the future.
I also feel like it's best for teachers and any staff members to build relationships with their families. Even that could be a simple call home. It doesn't always have to be negative feedback. It could also be positive feedback, just showing that, your student was doing good today. They performed very well in my class. Because I feel like it also builds that comfortability that students and their teachers may have with their parents. And it also obliterates any disconnection or any intimidation that teachers and their parents may feel towards each other.
We also said that Ms. Ramirez being an active listener will benefit her and her students. We think that as a student, you want to be able to go to a teacher and let them know, like, hey, this is going on, and then be able to do something. Not a teacher that you tell them and they don't care. So we believe that Ms. Ramirez should be an active listener.
I also believe that being an active listener is very, very helpful in this situation, especially because you're able to assign responsibility to everybody that was a part of the scenario, a part of this issue, and you can hold everybody accountable for their actions, so everybody could come to a compromise and agree on a solution that is beneficial for everybody.
All right, this will conclude our ethical dilemma scenario presentation. Thank you for your time. Does anyone have any questions or feedback?
I have a question. What if you are having this meeting with Mandy and figuring out, what the root of the cause is, and it's seems to be like something she's internalizing, something else. Like, what are your steps forward?
We can get a social worker involved since they deal with situations like these, and they can help her with anything that she needs help with.
But I feel like it's like, even if it is internalized, I feel like she shouldn't be taking it out on another student. I feel like she should still get the consequences for what she did to Richard if Richard didn't do it.
How did you guys come up with your group consensus, even though you all had different perspectives?
We did have a lot of different opinions, and we kind of just combined like the little things that we thought were best that we did agree on. So the phone call thing, we did have a lot of kind of, I guess a good way to say is controversy over it. And we thought that the best case scenario was to call the parents, because we really had to think about the mandated reporter part, because that is a big part of this scenario.
Yeah, that was awesome that you guys brought that up.
Thank you. And then thank you guys so much for
Thank you, Devin.
Yeah, that was something.
Yeah, that.
I like how everyone's.
Oh my god.
Because you were really close. Like my scoring is literally separated by 1 point. Right, so both groups I thought did a really good job. I liked how you would address things from multiple perspectives, right? You just didn't go in one direction. The conversation we were kind of having is though, it's hard. I don't want something, but it would have been nicer if the groups were more mixed, right? Like if it was like 2 boys, 2 girls, 2 boys, 2 girls, because sometimes the different genders it adds even another perspective. Like you guys shared with us how you all started out with a different idea. You guys did some of that, but the 2 ideas, like if we could have combined your 2 groups, you'd slam it in nationals.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like if we could combine what you did and what you did, there's no question you would do really phenomenal moving forward. Because even the 2 groups as they were, I thought did a really nice job.
For me, you guys were really close too, only 4 points difference. You both had strengths, and I totally agree mixing the groups would really boost your ideas.
I think you would have more of a discussion between it, because you guys were more about, this is what it is, this is suspension. That was never discussed over there, right? You know what I mean? That would have been, I think, different perspectives help you get a different thought process of what you're gonna get to. And like, if you had combined, like you guys have more of like the research and the data of like talking about this is how it is, 16%, that would have been really good to hear from this side, right? There was nothing that was brought up on that, so that's where we're thinking, if you combine, boom. That's what, so sometimes mixing up, I don't know who's friends or whatever, but I think sometimes boys think away, sometimes girls think a certain way, and it would have been really I think it would have been harder to even pick if you guys were both mixed. I don't know who we would have picked, just telling you. So.
Beautiful job, guys.
Nice
Yeah,
job.
it was very well done.
Yeah, very well done.
Everyone did. So nice job. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
No, this is it.
No, we
That was closing. That was the last one.
no, it wasn't planning to deliver.
Oh, we have more?
Yeah, you guys have one.
Can I get everyone in the capacity? What I'm saying right now. Alright.
I think I could.
Alright, you gotta figure it out. I already know.
Like, what's like the folks they're starting with?
The purpose for this competition is where our 2 competitors plan a full lesson for their subject selected. And the students will teach the class recording themselves for a 10-minute video showcasing their teaching. They will reflect on their experience as the judges and should be prepared to answer questions after their reflection presentation. So our first participant is Mylon Angelo, senior here in Brand High School and president of our Educated Rising.
Thank you, Paula. Good morning, judges. Good morning, audience. Today I've taught this lesson. This is my reflection video on student engagement. And what do you guys know about student engagement, judges?
Well, it's critical to get the students engaged in the lesson or you're not gonna go, they're not gonna learn anything.
Exactly. That's how you retain knowledge. You have to remember something. There has to be something memorable about it, which is why you remembered it over something else. So I'm gonna pass out my lesson plan, and when I refer in the video to the second video in my lesson, I'm referring to this handout sheet that I'm also going to give to you. So this is the handout right here. You're welcome.
Thank you.
This was the student assignment, and this is the lesson plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And the video is gonna run for 10 minutes. I'll answer any questions at the end, so you can go ahead and start that. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Mylon Angelo. I am a senior at New Britain High School and Educators Rising Club member. And this is my video submission for the lesson planning and delivery competition. To first start off my lesson, I greeted everybody by the door and gave them a number 1 through 5 that would determine what groups they were going to be sitting in for the day. Greeting your students by the door is a great way to get your class started and help everyone to feel welcomed and comfortable in your classroom.
Yeah, it was a little hard to hear, but basically I just asked them to do now what is one example of how their teacher got them engaged in a previous lesson or a previous class.
I feel like discussions, whether like whole class discussion, just more discussions.
I would say having them say just
I'll say creative activities to just more respect.
I was gonna say bribery, like extra points or like
Extra points, like a reward,
yeah, just like partner work.
partner work,
It's just that's what we're doing.
group work. Yeah, I agree with that. Group work.
I think that moving stations are very effective in classroom.
Moving around.
So, we have like a general understanding, student engagement, it's when you're not just like doing the same thing, you're constantly, your mind is working, you're challenged a little bit. So today we're learning about different levels of engagement. Does anybody know what a level of engagement is? Did you know that there was levels to this game? No? Alright. So, that's what we're going to be learning about today. But for right now, we're going to watch a video and we're going to think of some ways of how this teacher is getting her class engaged. So at any point, I'm going to just pause the video and I'm going to ask, what did the teacher do right here? So anybody can go ahead and raise their hand. And before I do this, does anybody want to do a job for me and be the clicker?
Assigning different tasks to students, like even something so simple as being the clicker for the YouTube video is a good way to help students gain a sense of belonging in the classroom and feel like they matter in their space.
To get her class engaged as a fifth grade teacher. So you can go ahead and start. When she puts like that, the whole, basically like a schedule for the class up on the board where students can go back to it and say, all right, I know that after this, we're gonna do this. It keeps students engaged because you know you have a sense of direction, you have a sense of knowing what you're gonna do and knowing how the class is gonna run. So this is a very good strategy to use when you're doing a lesson. The way how she's bending down and getting to her students' level is a very good strategy for teaching because if the teacher's standing up right here and you're looking down on a student, you can be a little intimidating because it's like, oh, am I in trouble? You're like looking up to the teacher. But coming down to the student's level is a very good way to help them not be intimidated. And you know, it might be a little babyish because she's with fifth grade students to kind of like come down here and be like, oh, you're doing your work. But you know, for example, if I wanted to come over here and make sure that everybody's engaged, I might come and sit down right here. I don't have to get down like you guys are little kids, but coming over here and getting down to your level.
So the first video was basically just an example of what student engagement looks like in a real classroom and what are some strategies that we can use in our own lessons and how are they effective. So we just debriefed on those things, we paused a few times and talked about it. And during the second video, we actually learned about the levels of engagement. And during this video, students filled out their note catchers and I answered any questions.
Does anybody know what that means? All right. Can somebody pull up a dictionary definition? What does inherent mean? First person.
Seizing any opportunity to turn something into a little game really just brings out the competitive nature of students and overall helps them to be more engaged.
Essential, you know, find something inherent value. That basically means, why am I doing this? I come to math class, why am I learning math? You need to find the why and why you're learning.
So after we watched the second video and we learned about the levels of engagement, it was time to do our group activity where everybody was responsible for one slide in a slideshow. Every group had to pick one level of engagement, but I wasn't really sure how to assign them their level of engagement. So I wanted to come up with a little game where I had them guess the number in my head.
You guys got it. That was the number. Alright, what do you guys want?
So here I'm basically just explaining everything that they need on the slide and what the slide should look like. And then I just walked around to every group, made sure if they had any questions I answered, and just overall checked progress. And went around, made sure I went to everybody. Every group was given around 25 minutes to work on their slideshow, and then each group was given 3 minutes to present.
So, our little presentation on rebellion is the bottom level of engagement. Is basically just completely nothing. You don't do any, commitment. All your attention is just not even in the day, which is somewhere else, and it's more than just not getting representation.
We did virtual compliance, which is like the middle ground, and it's a student with low attention and low commitment. They don't really try more than they have to. It's
So here are a couple of the slides from the assignment. The students created great presentations with a lot of information on each slide. And for any absent students who weren't there, they can easily go into the classroom and look at the slideshow and learn everything that they need to for the entire lesson by their classmates. So having an activity like this that is joint between everybody and everybody does their own part is a great teaching method.
Homework assignment is just, what are 3 3 ways you're going to get your class engaged in your next lesson if you do teach, or in future lessons if you do become a teacher and whatnot. So that's going to be your homework, but I want to hear from some people, what is something you learned today? Like, what is something you realized that you haven't before? Start off over here.
That there's different levels of engagement. I feel like I never knew that before, so it's just something that.
Okay. And like the levels of engagement, like you would think like, all right, a student's paying attention or they're not. Like, what's the difference? But knowing that and like actually, once you actually get an understanding of it and knowing it, it's easier to help it and get that student to be engaged.
And this is the end of my lesson where we just wrapped everything up and we talked about it. Thank you for watching my video and I hope you enjoyed.
So, do we have any questions?
Was it the first time you taught a lesson?
This was actually my 3rd lesson of the year. I had previously I previously taught a lesson in my period 5 class, and this was my 2nd time teaching this lesson, but to a different class.
Oh, so this is, you're not in that class with these students?
No.
Okay.
Why did you decide to teach about engagement?
So it first started with our period 3 class, and we had the prompt that we can teach on anything school related. We got some books provided by Ms. Marquez that acted as like topics of what you can do your lesson on. I had already done this last year, being a member in this pathway. I've already done the exact same prompt with the books, so I thought, how can I make it different this year? I knew that all these students were going to be teaching their own lessons, so I thought, coming in as an experienced student, how can I help my classmates? So that's where I thought student engagement. You know, your class has to be engaged for you to get a good grade, for you to be a good teacher. If they're not engaged, then are they really learning?
Awesome. On your lesson plan, you indicate, I'm assuming predicted time management for yourself.
Yeah.
Did you find having that there helped you kind of keep on track throughout the lesson because you had pre-planned for time elements?
Having that schedule is a good way to start, but it's very hard to stick by that schedule as you're actually doing it because certain activities take longer than they should and certain discussions go longer than they should, but that might be a good thing. We might be talking about one thing more than the other. So as far as that goes, my first time, I definitely went above. My lesson took 2 days. It was only supposed to be 1 class period. I went above the time limit because I wasn't paying attention to the time. I wasn't managing well. But this second time, I had my timer on my phone. I was constantly watching the time. I knew that, all right, we have 5 minutes left of this. I didn't show it in the video, but I had to cut the first video short to make sure we had time for everything else. So I think just knowing that, all right, this might take longer than this, I might have to sacrifice time from this activity. And it works out sometimes.
We'll go right into it.
So our next participant.
I'm gonna get it right here, so. You can't take this money out.
My senior year in my high school, a member of educators.
I think there's thing is behind it.
No.
This is not her lesson.
Yeah.
Oh. I thought you were behind this one. I'm gonna be like, I have Sam.
like someone was sitting there too. Bro.
Huh? What is it?
Smart kids.
Ready? I don't like 101.
Oh my goodness. Well, I expect this from her. I've seen this before. I was not real happy when you were
I think it's for the better. She's helping children become
Or school counselor. How dare you?
You know, there's a shortage area, there's science and math.
As long as she keeps pushing it to you.
Listen, out of the 7 last year, 4 are social studies.
Secondary.
And you're doing your job.
I think I wanted to be a social studies teacher before I was a counselor, but I only made my decision after I finished my undergrad, so I didn't have enough history courses. I love what I do. I don't ever really do that. And,
definitely gets better.
You get nervous because your face gets
So our last
Really quickly, I'll be passing out some work that the class did.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the blue sticky notes, before we get started, the blue sticky notes are an immigration story. You will see in the video, but an immigration story that they have experienced or have been told. Line paper is research that they did independently, and the 3, 2, 1 is basically summing up the lesson in total.
Good morning, everyone. Hoping that everybody can hear me from the back. As you walk in, you will get a sticky note, and further instructions will be given once you're seated. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Serenity. I will be teaching you guys about immigration trauma. Before we get started, I don't know much of you guys' names. So all you have to know an index card and markers. Once you get an index card, I'll let you put your names. You can just put your first name, just so I get like a visualization of your name. Once you guys are done, I would really appreciate if you guys grab your sticky notes and put them and like anywhere on the board. There's no need to start. You guys don't know who's supposed to be on the shop?
Well, I put like my friend, over back in elementary school, she used to like go to Mexico to visit her parents because her parents got taken from her when she was younger. But she was born in America, obviously. Her parents got sent back to Mexico, so she would have to go visit them one time. Yeah.
A couple immigration like stories I could tell, but it was more with the story Brianna was telling. I have like a life coach, if you want to say, and she was born in Iraq, I'm pretty sure. And her parents stayed back while she came to the U.S. And it was very hard for her because obviously she was 12 years old and she couldn't live with her parents. So she's moving to somewhere completely different, and mind you, English was not her first language. So that was another barrier that she had to face. So it was very hard, and she wasn't able to go back to her island and see her parents until she was around like 20 years old. So language barriers and emotional barriers are a lot of like things that she faced, which is going to be what we're talking about later on. So yeah, thank you.
Their home island in Kingston, US, and he came by himself through like immigration.
you have 8 minutes to do so. And then any time is needed, like extra, you can put more time.
Welcome to my world.
Is there anything interesting? Thank you. Like all this weird different, and everybody's like it's so fine.
I just saw
How much is it? Oh, I'm on you. You're so
Just that like, I don't know where to start, like,
That's what you get.
I read it. I just didn't know it could affect people this much.
I see teachers.
You know, we're gonna put some for athletic
Guys, is there anything interesting that like stood out in the article that you guys read so far? Anything new that you guys learned that you didn't know?
Well, I want to explore like what do they mean by changing gender rules. I think I might know. I mean, I have an idea, but like, where's that? I went to go check gender rules.
It's not Florence.
Yes.
About immigration in schools. So the sticky notes are for you to come up with strategies that either the schools are doing or that you like think of on the top of your head that would like help children who immigrated from other places like feel more comfortable in schools, or what are the schools doing to help accommodate for those kids? It could be like after school clubs, it could be extra time on work, it could be different classes, things of that nature. So does everybody know what the blue sticky notes are for? At least 25 minutes you guys had. You guys should have a good amount of information on your papers. So I would like at least one person from the room. So starting off with Emily speaking, anyone would like to share? Either could be sticky notes or what you wrote down on your more in school programs to like help them. Is there any specific programs that you think? Or anything specific? Just like one program, more specific. Can I say?
You know what I mean, wherever they're at. And let them be around kids that are similar to them.
Like a very big class where everybody knows English, everybody's a friend, but like you don't have anyone to connect with. I know it's great. You also have to share it.
When I observed one of a different classroom, I had seen that it was like a Spanish type of classroom. So it was that type of classroom, and there was a student who was an immigrant, and he just came like it was his second day, and I saw that he was talking to the students like he had been here the whole year.
Pairing family with somebody who's disabled, whether that be a teacher, a counselor, social worker, anything really that their job is to help put that bilingualism that we might have, that's a perfect way to connect the family to the school. And I say the family, not specifically the child, because I feel like it really depends on when you come to the country. If you come to the country at a young age, right, it's easier to get ready as a local. But if you're coming from a different country who doesn't speak English or Spanish or any of these higher languages in the country, for example, you don't have, you really do, across the country, you don't have too many languages, especially on like the West Coast. So, for somebody who's Polish to come to the West Coast, for example, and come it's good for maybe a social worker that was Polish or that was English, and there's some sort of to translate the
I didn't mention like family, like not just the house, but it's very important to feel that way. When the kid goes home, like whoever it is, they could be able to go home with their family and bring like what they learned. So like if they do have like support from family and the child, that way they learn together, they grow together, and they like they're able to learn the same things and be able to like to apply it instead of just like learning it at school and not being able to apply it at home because that's not really like what they're learning, that's not really appealing. So anybody else like to share?
They should have like special programs where they can like keep in contact with their family.
So like family like they move away from?
Yeah, find ways to.
Like that was really different. That's true. The instructions are in Blue Boxes. On the paper. You guys will get about 2 minutes to fill out the paper, and if there's extra time needed, we provide. Any questions? No? Okay.
How did you choose your topic?
So we had a list of assignments in class of what to choose from, and this one really stood out to me, so I picked this one. And I was able to search up different type of learning strategies that help kids. So I was able to come up with the independent reading, the movement, and all that, and incorporate it into it.
When you were assessing whether the students that you taught, whether the class actually achieved the objective that you set, which of your assessments listed did you find most helpful to you? Because you shared a lot of student work with us, which is really cool. Which piece did you kind of use at the end that gave you a clear indication of who?
For me, it was the independent research, which is the line paper that you guys have. I feel like, because the objective was to be able to learn how students are affected from immigration, like across the U.S. and stuff like that. But I feel like on the paper, they were able to come up with different strategies, barriers, and stuff like that. So I feel like that was a really way to like collect data. Any other questions?
What would you do differently after delivering this lesson?
So when the lesson was finished, we were asked if there was any constructive criticism that could be given back. All of them said that it was good, that I gave good explanations, but one really stood out to me. One student said that I moved too fast. So I did make sure that I accommodated like time for them when time was needed. But I feel like if I were able to pace myself a bit more and like go around and ask them if there's anything that they need help on, being able to like make sure they have that actual like, reassurance that I'm here for them and I can help them, like that would have been a lot better.
Awesome.
So thank you, audience judges, for being so patient and for great participants who did an amazing job today. Take your time to evaluate.
Thank you.
I know, it's very wordy.
a special thanks to the judges who took their time and fairly judged this for us. We want to give props to all of the competitors. It takes a lot to come up to the stage and present in front of an audience, in front of judges. I want to give a special thank you to Ms. Marquez. The amount of work that she put in to make this event happen is insane. I don't know how she does it. On top of being a teacher, on top of being a mother, it's a true inspiration to me. I want to give a thank you to Ms. Vibber as well for helping us and allowing us to use this space for pretty much the whole day. Also, thank you to the D-Lo kids for coming out here, sacrificing their school time to come and experience this with us. I admire you guys for having some kind of idea of where you want to go in your life. I did not know what I was gonna do in 8th grade, so props to you guys. So if you need a pass to lunch, you can go ahead and see Ms. Marquez. D-Lo kids, CCSU kids, and cabinet members will follow me. And if you are a club member, you will meet after period 7 here. So thank you.